In the opening scene, when they say Fred's coming home, it was that resignation of, well, that it was fun while it lasted. And now I think Serena thought maybe she would get to. And that's the Serena way, right?
Yeah.
Everyone else, the rules don't apply. Okay, June, you don't get to do what you get to do anymore, but maybe I still do. And I think that's what she wanted. And she wanted it to be, instead of the intimate relationship that became of her and June, to be her and Fred again.
Right.
That's all she's asking for at this point. She doesn't even need the career that she should have had. She's saying, give me a baby in a back room to do work in. And he won't do it. And he says no, because at this point, Fred needs to get his shit in order. And that's the last thing he needs, is Serena in the back room doing his work for him. So he's trying to assert his own power.
Yes.
And he does it by crushing her down. And he shuts the door in her face.
The way that he does it is so incredibly, almost like smooth, like it's kind of feels choreographed. Like he thanks her for doing this and for putting herself at risk. And Serena tests the waters because there are these, she's next to his desk and she says she left the first draft of this agenda for his Canadian trip to, for his presentation to the committee. And she, does that thing where she nonchalantly moves the pen back in place, nothing amiss here. And he says, I'll take a look. And then he does that come hither motion with his hand. And then that's when we hear the doom music. And she moves closer. And I'm sure that she's thinking that something awesome is going to happen right now. Like he's going to offer her a fucking job in his office or something. And instead he takes her by the hand and escorts her to the friggin' door. And he shuts her out. Like, I think she was really hoping to stay in the saddle. She liked being back in the saddle. And I really thought that she was going to get a head pat here from Fred. And she was going to be welcomed into, the fold in secret. And she got pushed right back out the door.
Of course she got pushed right back out the door, because Fred, in his weakened physical state, needs to do everything he can to exert whatever authority he can and to put himself back into that position of power. He already knows that his household was sliding away from him while he was gone. And if he were to show any kindnesses at all at this point, it would be considered a psychological weakness. On top of his physical weakness and the needing of the cane, he needed to assert his authority immediately. Otherwise, he would never regain a foothold in his own household.
Yeah, that's what I was thinking when, with that shot of the house looming over him, was now he needs to go loom back over that house. And that's what he does.
And then you have Serena, who just very much wants to feel like she's valued. And unfortunately, she's helped build a society that only thrives if women have no value. And in turn, that means she doesn't have a thriving society to live in. And this is the first time we start to see Serena. This is one of the first times we start to see Serena realizing that these small limitations are dysfunctional and that she is worthless in the eyes of the people who claim to have their best interests for her. And is this baby ever going to be worth it?
I think that she's long come to the realization that she is worthless in the eyes. What was the wording that you just said? Whatever that was. I think she's come to that realization as a whole of Gilead society. I think she's been in this Gilead wife role long enough to accept that she has been snuffed down as a woman.
Yes.
But I think she's always believed that within her house and within her marriage, she was still held on the same playing field. And I think at this point she's realized that is gone. And it's not, we're going to watch it for the rest of the season slowly erode to a point where it just can't return. And that's what we're seeing here is just Serena. It's not that because I really don't think this is ever what she wanted. And we're seeing it happen to her again, where Fred takes something she does, spins it up, and then uses it to smash her in the face with it. Yeah. And it's what happens when she saves their family. She breaks every rule and does everything that she needs to keep them alive and to keep Fred alive and to keep him where he needs to be, and takes out his competition who was gunning for him. And and that's what she wants, is that bring him back in the saddle, like you're saying. And instead he says, yeah, thanks for the help. Bye. And it's the same as when he shuts the door in the face and he leaves her in the hallway to go back into the meeting and says, sorry, no women allowed. I tried. And it's the door slammed in her face again. And I don't know how many more doors need to slam in Serena's face before she figures it out. Mm-hmm. But I think she's really getting that her marriage is not an exception.
Yeah. Absolutely. I love that you're making that the similarity, or drawing the similarity between those two scenes, because it's so spot on, because Fred is the catalyst behind her being closed out completely. And in both, she doesn't learn her lesson of realizing that, like, she will never be the exception to the rule. She will never be the exception to the rule in the society that she helped to create, and she will never be the exception to the rule within the confines of her own home and her own marriage. This is her own self-perpetuated hell.
And that point is never going to be driven home as hard as it will be by the end of this episode.
Yeah.
Right.